I just wanted to say something that was on my mind real quick. Um, that's been on the front of my mind, and that is God allowed all things to happen, all traumas in my life to happen. He allowed all these things. So I shouldn't feel guilty for um, having traumas or surviving traumas uh, when God Himself allowed all of it. You know what I mean? I shouldn't feel guilty. There must be maybe some wisdom in allowing me to go through all that trauma for decades, all sorts of trauma. There must be some kind of wisdom, even though I felt like it was a little too much. But um, God allowed it all the way to the point where I thought it was too much. So there must be some kind of wisdom in allowing me to endure it until it was too much for me, basically. There must be some wisdom in letting it play out to that point. Um, I guess. Maybe. Um, so the trajectory from that point will be in a certain direction that God wants, a, like a positive direction that God wants it to go. Um, because I've seen the bad in this world, that's for sure. And as said in uh, kind of the Batman movies, I've seen Gotham's underbelly, basically. Um, I've seen the worst, in my opinion. I've been around the worst. um, so, so, anyways, but there must be some wisdom in allowing me to be around that for so long. Um, there has to be. There's no other way around it, really. There had to be. Why put me in that scenario? You know, there had to be some kind of genius, not genius. I don't know, genius, some wisdom and all that. And maybe God knew I would be making videos. Maybe He knew I would eventually be making videos to help me climb, help me heal, help me make sense of the things, as I improve and master my weaknesses, I guess, or master my mind, my body, basically. I don't know. I was just thinking about that just now, like, because I'm a deep thinker, and I'm just like, wait a minute. I shouldn't feel guilty because God allowed all that to happen. You know what I mean? God allowed me to grow up around all that. You know what I mean? He allowed it to play out. I shouldn't feel guilty for surviving the best I knew how. You know what I mean? At the time, or I shouldn't feel guilty for that. I didn't feel like I had the help or the proper tools, or you know what I mean. I just had uh, I don't know, the main distractions I usually have. You know what I mean? just to help me get through it all, you know. Um, but um, but I feel like I do have a little more uh, tools in the arsenal these days. I feel like I have more tools to work with, um, to help me survive further and keep getting better. I feel like I keep getting more tools as I go. And on Monday, I'm gonna be hanging out with some normies, but they're cool. Um, they're gonna teach me how to cook a little bit because I was never taught how to cook really at all in my life. So they're gonna help me teach me how to cook a little bit. So that should be pretty cool and fun, I think. But God knows I wasn't taught shit. As far as life skills, I wasn't taught shit. I have a good work ethic, but other than that, I wasn't taught shit. Um, but that's what happens when your parents are psychopaths and you're the designated scapegoat. They don't teach you shit for anything. No life skills, no nothing. So you're pretty much on your own, winging it every day. So try to learn new things as you go. But anyways, I guess that's all I wanted to say. It was just like, because I always feel guilty of like it was my fault that I have trauma and I survived. You know, all that. You know, it's my fault that I have trauma to live with, and no, it isn't. God allowed it. He allowed it all to go down the whole time, you know. It's not my fault. If God allowed it, there must be some wisdom in all of it. Maybe. But I shouldn't feel guilty as if I caused it, because I didn't cause it. And I can't cure it. I can't cure the disease of narcissism. I can't cure that disease. No one can. That's why I had to walk away. And I have to keep walking, because no one can cure the disease of narcissism. No one can. Just like the disease of alcoholism, no one can cure that. So you have to walk away and look after yourself and go a different path. No one can fix that. So I learned that the hard way. Yeah, no one's fixing that. No one's changing that monster. So it's about taking care of ourselves now. Putting ourselves first every day. And from now on, every day, put ourselves first. And keep improving one day at a time, basically. And leave that narcissism mess in the dust forever. And I think that's what God wants from me, to leave all that in the dust forever. Never look back, because no one can cure that disease of narcissism. No one can. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I grew up around it. No one's curing that. No one's changing that. They didn't change in more than 30 years, or me being around them. They never changed. They never sought a professional for help for their behavior. Never. No one's changing that disease. That's pretty infinite. Narcissism is infinite. They don't change ever. From what I saw, from my own experience around it, I didn't see them ever changing. So anytime in this millennium. I don't care what professional thinks they can cure it. They can't. Nope. So take it from me that's lived around it my whole life. No one's curing that disease. So I gotta cure myself from being around it, basically. And that's what I learned in Al-Anon is I was affected by the disease of narcissism. So I have to cure myself from being around it, all my life. I have to cure myself one day at a time. Just the same as if I grew up in an alcoholic home. You're affected by the disease of alcoholism if you're around it. So that's basically the same principle. I was affected by being around the disease of narcissism, psychopathy. I've been around it my whole life. Whether it's in the family, extended family, religion, it extends far. It extends far, that disease. I mean, everybody seemed to have that disease of narcissism around me. Seemed like it. They were all playing pretend around each other all the time. You know what I mean? They're all playing pretend with their fake character selves, That's what I remember. So, anyways, but that's the gist of it is God just wants us to focus on ourselves full time, permanently focus on ourselves from here on out, basically. So that's what I've learned is just there's no cure for whatever disease my family's involved in. With the narcissism plus the religion, there's no cure for them. So I gotta save myself one day at a time, I feel like I'm the only one that has a chance to heal and cure myself even a little bit, and I feel like I have healed a little bit. So at least it's somewhat possible to save one person from the whole disaster of what I grew up around. There's a chance to save at least one person from it all, and I guess that's going to be me. Or I'm going to try to keep going. But yeah, I was just sitting here, and I'm like, wait a minute, I shouldn't feel so much guilt for the trauma that happened to me, because I didn't really cause it. I didn't have control over the whole situation. I didn't have control of these people. They were kind of just tornadoes on wheels full time. I didn't really have control of it. There's no stopping them, ever. Nothing I could do or say could stop them from their behaviors. You know what I mean? Nothing. So I shouldn't feel guilty because no one could stop them, really. And I feel like when Jesus was on the planet, he couldn't stop them from being the way they were. You know what I mean? That's what they wanted. They ended up wanting to crucify him because he couldn't stop their ways, their wickedness. He couldn't stop them. So even Jesus couldn't change them from them being what they are. So that says something. If Jesus can't change them, then I can't change them, and you can't change them. So basically, so that should be enough right there, to convince you. So anyways, That's all I wanted to say. Because like sometimes I, when people say that I have severe trauma, well, no shit, no shit. Everybody knows I have severe trauma, but it wasn't my fault. You know, everybody knows the type of people I was dealing with. If they dealt with the same type of people I was around growing up, they know what they're up against. Um, so there's no fixing that. There's no survive. There's just surviving the best you can, I guess. Cope the best you can while being around these type of people. That's all you can do. Uh, it's not like you can uh, run away from home and think you can make it with no life skills, with all the trauma that they put on you. Um, I can barely make it work these days, but I have help from God. That's the only reason things keep working out, because I have help, and I admit I have help because I do need help from a higher power, because I don't know, I am living with trauma, so it's kind of hard sometimes to live like this. But anyway, that's all I want to say is like um, God allowed it for whatever reason. So, he must see some kind of wisdom in it that I don't see, for having me live through it and be around it my whole life. Grow up in the narcissist world my whole life, be around them my whole life. It's, I feel like I know them like the back of my hand. You know what I mean? And that's how I can uh, avoid them and survive them, because I know their patterns. They have patterns. Psychopaths have patterns. They're repetitive. And if you know their patterns, you know how to stay out of their way. Um, you know, you know how to avoid them because you know their patterns. You know where they go. You know what they do every day. You know their patterns because you grew up around them, so you know their cycles. So they're going through the same cycle now that they were going through when I was growing up. Same cycles. They're around different people, but they're going through the same cycles. Um, Same behaviors, same habits, you name it. Same cycles. They're on repeat. Um, they so if I were to be so inclined to scope one of them out, they would still be doing the same things that they were doing 10 years ago, even 20 years ago. Same things, same exact things. Isn't that crazy? They're that much on repeat. Um, my father is probably treating his new wife the same way he treated my mother, his first wife, treating them the same way on repeat. With just the different partner, they do the same thing on repeat. It's bizarre, but it's factual. uh, you had to witness it to believe it, but they're on repeat. Um, so just with different people, they just hop to a different person and they're on repeat. They do the same things with that new person that they did with the old person. But anyways, they're not important anymore. We gotta just focus on ourselves and work on ourselves, because we're the only ones that have a chance, in my opinion. Even if it's a slim chance, it's still a chance, you know. Um, Even though I don't feel like I've ever lived a real life, because I've just been surviving all this shit for most of my life, just surviving. Maybe a real life will happen eventually. I don't know. Um, Maybe God will help me form a real life where I'm actually, I don't know, happy with wife and maybe have kids eventually. I don't know. Some kind of life, you know, that's better than flying solo. You know what I mean? And just making videos and flying solo. You know, there's got to be more to life than this. You know, um, even though, and I thought about this. There's not a lot of people to talk to in this world that actually would understand you or understand me if we tried to talk to them. You know what I mean? So it's lonely for us because we do see things different. We speak a different language than most of the people on the planet. So it's not like we can strike up a conversation with anybody and they'll get us or they'll understand what we're saying. Or even though we're pretty good at conversing with people one on one. One on one, we're really good at conversing with people. You know, small talk and stuff. And um, if it goes to deeper subjects, then great. That's great. You know, but if it doesn't, oh well. But usually it doesn't go to deep subjects like we want. Um, but but anyways, there's not really a lot of people to talk to that would understand what I'm saying. So I just, you know, um, that's why I make videos, kind of. In one reason is there's no one to talk to really on this road. Walking this road, there's no one really to talk to, besides people, other people out there that get me, kinda. You know, I don't know, but that kind of understand this path in a way. You know, but anyways, I was just thinking that there had to have been some wisdom of God just allowing what He allowed to happen. There had to have been some wisdom with all that, because God allowed a lot. I mean, a lot to happen, to transpire. You know, that caused a lot of trauma, a lot of damage. God allowed all that, you know, for reason, you know, for a reason that only He knows, you know. I, I died once for real, but I came back. But I came back to the body that was traumatized and broken, so that didn't really help. I got returned to the same body that was damaged. You know, of course, didn't fix me. But anyways, enough about that. I had the peaceful death, and and I and I came back. I had it. I had every warrior's dream ever, to just have that peaceful death. You know, and I had it, but I chose to come back because I'm an idiot. because I'm crazy. I, I chose to continue in this life. Oh man, but we all make mistakes. we all make mistakes, you know. So, anyways, I think I've done some good since coming back. I feel like I've done some good, you know. It wasn't all just a waste for me to come back from death. It wasn't all just a waste. I don't feel like. I feel like I did some good. I feel like I may not have lived the life I wanted to, but I feel like I did some good under my for being a traumatized person. I feel like I did some good, you know. So, anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Really, is that I shouldn't feel guilty because God allowed it all. God allowed all that to happen. You know what I mean? So I was there. You know, God didn't stop any of it. You know, for the most part, he allowed the narcissists or psychopaths to do their thing all the whole time. He allowed them to do their thing the whole time. Do their damage the whole time. God allowed it. So there must be some wisdom in that. There's maybe some wisdom in all of it. In the end, with the bigger picture, when all's said and done, there must be some wisdom in God allowing them to do whatever the hell they wanted for that long. You know what I mean? There has to be some kind of wisdom in that. Because it did send me on a trajectory. It really did send me on a trajectory. Like a totally different direction. The narcissist caused this. they caused this trajectory that I'm on, if that makes sense. They destroyed me to nothing, and from that point, I just kind of just exploded slowly in a different direction, a different trajectory after they destroyed me. You know what I mean? Destroyed everything about me. Everything. You know, it from that point, it sent me on a different trajectory in a totally different direction, away from their world. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. On a whole different path. You know what I mean? So, and I haven't really come across anybody in real life that is going down the exact same path as me. Some people have shared along my path a little bit, you know, together a little bit. But as far as my exact path, no one is walking this exact path that I have seen. Whether it's no matter what's being done to improve me, my mind, my body, you know, whatever God wants me to improve, my confidence, self-esteem. I don't know. I just haven't seen anybody walk this path in real life. You know, I haven't even seen anybody walk this kind of a path in the movies. You know what I mean? Like even more depth to it than even in the movies. You know what I mean? So there must be some wisdom in all this, because I'm not in there. I'm not in the narcissist world anymore like I was, you know, like growing up. I'm not in their arena anymore. So it's this is new territory, because I feel like a lot of organizations are set up to benefit narcissists, the controllers. You know, they're set up that way. Um, a lot of organizations aren't really to benefit the free thinkers, the free thinkers of society. You know, that want to think for ourselves. That doesn't seem to be popular groups that want to think for themselves and not be in these controlled groups, controlled organizations, whatever they may be, whether it's religion organizations, whether it's educational organizations, whatever. As far as the free thinkers that want to think freely, there's not really an organization for us. No one wants us to think freely, it seems like. Not really, you know. It seems like that there's always this need for control, always this need to control you, always. In some way, we have to control you. That seems to be the theme of life. Is there always has to be some person to control, some organization to control the people, the humans. We don't want them to think for themselves. That's too crazy for us, for people to think for themselves. We can't handle that. We have to control people. So, anyways, I think I've ranted enough, but yeah. But I don't know. That's just something I was thinking about. It was just like, wait a minute. God allowed all that to go down. God allowed all that to happen. I shouldn't feel guilty. I didn't really have a different choice, I felt, you know, other than to live through the narcissist world. Just live, survive it the best I knew how, get through it. That's the best I knew how to do. I did the best I could think of to survive their world, both in the cult and in the family system. I did the best I felt I could to survive it all. So I shouldn't feel guilty for surviving it and praying that the second coming happens and everybody burns. So I can just get this over with, you know. Yeah, I hate that. That's what I wanted, but you know, there was no stopping them, you know. So I only thought that second coming and would stop all this, you know. That's what I thought, you know. Put a stop to this hell that I was living through around these individuals. I thought only Jesus could end it, basically, with the second coming or the rapture, you know, to put an end to what I was going through around these people, you know. But anyways, I think I ranted enough, but anyways, I, you know, God thought I could survive, so that's why I survived. I guess, you know, he thought I could survive all that and keep going somehow. Um, so still going. Um, but I admit that I thought that I'd be a lot more healed, but doesn't matter. I thought about this today. I'm like, I can outwork anybody. I can outwork anybody in the condition I'm in. Trauma brain, you name it. uh, Injuries. I can outwork everybody still, you know. But I don't. Luckily, I don't work 7 days a week anymore. But um, I'm not too crazy on work like I was. But I can still outwork everybody. In my opinion, if I really want to, I can. Um, so, but I admit that I kind of been burning myself out, but um, that's the problem with being an INFJ is we burn out, you know. Um, if we work ourselves over and over and over, you know. So we gotta be mindful of that and take care of ourselves the best we can. So, anyways, um, so yeah. Um, I guess that's all I want to say is I shouldn't feel guilty for what I had to do to survive and for surviving it. Uh, God allowed all of it, so I shouldn't feel guilty. So there must be some wisdom that I don't see, some greater wisdom that I don't see. So I will talk to you later.